When you talk about bumping a player, it's pretty much
great courage. One that says the bump is dead. That's how you deliver it.
What is going on, YouTube universe? My name is Trent. Some of you guys at home might know me as Zirra for other content I throw out on YouTube, and welcome to my AFL channel, The Hip and Shoulder, where today we're going to get our tips in ahead of round 3 and lament on the terrible fucking round I had for round 2. For round 2, 8 games, I got 4 correct, 50% strike rate. I am spewing, especially given the fact that not only did I roll the dice with some picks, but I should have backed my comments in from my round 2 tipping video, because I would have made a hell of a lot better of an effort than 4 out of 8, considering I did say St Kilda were every chance to cause an upset, and I still tipped against them. I said that Geelong had every chance of going down to Adelaide and winning, even though I tipped against them. That right there would have given me 6 out of 8, and I wouldn't have been as miserable as I am right now. We got the Fremantle tip correct, even though North Melbourne gave me a real scare at half time. Melbourne over Hawthorn was all but a natural occurrence. We had Sydney over Essendon. Again, I feel that was going to be just a natural occurrence as well. Rolled the dice with Gold Coast against the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs went and shut that theory down. Richmond against Port. We were in it at half time. We were in it at three-quarter time. Port Adelaide too good in the end, and obviously GWS running away with the win against West Coast. So 4 out of 8 for me throws me down into the bottom 4 for my tipping competition for the year, which is the worst start I have had since doing footy tipping in general on YouTube, which I have done for at least 4 or 5 years now. Special congratulations must go to a member by the name of Saintly12, who tipped 7 out of 8 correct, which was the most amount of correct tips for the competition for round 2. And further congratulations goes to a member by Team Wiggles, who has taken a 1-point lead to be outright leader for the competition heading into round 3. If you guys want to get on board with the tipping competition, links are in the description down below. I will also put them in the comment section too. Free to join, get on board, help continue to grow the community that we are slowly but surely piecing together. But round 3 is upon us. I hear it. It's knocking on the door. It probably isn't knocking on the door because it's 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm recording this, so no boss is knocking on my door. But Easter weekend football, we got some big head-to-head clashes going down. Just be mindful that we've got an extra set of buys going down over the first few rounds, and Gold Coast and GWS will not be partaking in round 3, but we do have still, as I said, some very mouth-watering, some very tasty hitouts kicking off tomorrow night at the Gabba with the 2023 Grand Final replay, Brisbane versus Collingwood. 2 teams that have started their years off 0-3. I would not have expected this at all. Collingwood sitting 15th on the ladder, Brisbane sitting 12th. This one is going to be a hard one for me to tip because Brisbane, I've said in the beginning of the year, they're going to be hard to beat at home, and then Carlton went and did what they did in round 0. Collingwood have been affording the opposition teams that they have taken on so far way too much space. Defensively, they have been broken down, and I feel Brisbane can really expose that, especially given Brisbane is going to go in with a rather tall forward line. You've got the likes of Joe Danaher, Eric Hipwood. You've still got the smalls as well, Lincoln McCarthy, Charlie Cameron. You've still got those medium-type build players in the forward line as well. I think collectively that forward line is going to be too much for Collingwood to handle when they've only got Darcy Moore there as that lockdown defender. They're really missing Nathan Murphy, and I think Nathan Murphy's role in the Collingwood team has been severely underrated given the accountability Darcy Moore now has as a one-on-one defender, and he's been opened up a little bit. So I'm going to be tipping Brisbane to win this game at home. I'm going to go Brisbane by, let's go 19 points. Let's go 3 goals and a behind. I got posed a question for my video podcast this week. If you have missed any of those, by the way, I will also link those in the description down below. I've been having a real ball piecing those together. The question was posed, does the loser of this game have their 2024 season derailed? I don't think it derails their season. I think top 4 chances are pretty much dashed if they start 0-4, and unfortunately, and to very much a lot of people's surprise, one of these 2 teams are going to be kicking off at 0-4, and I think it's going to be Collingwood. Moving on to Friday night, Good Friday football. Carlton taking on North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. I will be tipping Carlton here. North Melbourne has been rather valiant in defeat. I feel they showed glimpses against GWS in round 1. Last week, obviously, at Marvel Stadium against Fremantle, they showed a hell of a lot of fight. Big lead at halftime. Unfortunately, let that lead slip. I think defensively as well, North Melbourne still in the process of structuring that properly. They've still got some outs, for players to come back in and fill those taller defender spots. Carlton coming fresh off the bye. Some people might feel that is to a team's detriment. I feel for Carlton it's probably going to be to their benefit. They had a huge win against Brisbane in round 0. Very hard-fought win against Richmond in round 1. They've come off a break. They come back against North, and I think they're going to have a 6+ goal win here. The good news for Carlton fans as well, Sam Walsh is only a couple of weeks away from returning. So, huge news, given there was rumours going around that he might need back surgery and it was going to have him out for the year. It's going to be good to see him get back within the mix. Friday night is at Optus Stadium with Fremantle taking on Adelaide, and I'm inclined to go Fremantle at home. Fremantle showed a hell of a lot of fight against North Melbourne last week, especially in the second half. The week prior, played incredibly well as well, and currently have them placed 5th overall, 2 from 2, looking incredibly strong. Adelaide, on the flip side, they've had 2 very winnable games, and they have been beaten quite convincingly, and shit. Unfortunately, Adelaide have been purely dependent on only a handful of players standing up, and they haven't been as cohesive as they need to be and as they have shown they can be. So I think Adelaide are going to move into round 3 with another loss under their belt, which throws my predictions out the window because I had them contending for finals, and at the moment they're not playing that calibre of football. Saturday kicks off at Marvel Stadium, Essendon taking on St Kilda. I am going to be going St Kilda here. Essendon went down to Sydney, obviously, last week by 30 points. Did look good in that game, but Sydney just kept on edging them out bit by bit. Again, Essendon, in part, looked like they were too dependent on a couple of players having to carry the load. St Kilda coming off of a very big win against Collingwood in a game that a lot of people would have expected Collingwood to smash them in. And they're going to be without Max King this week, so it's going to be interesting to see how that forward structure works. I think Tim Membry has the ability to really get off the chain here. But I'm backing in St Kilda's midfield. Their defensive work from back half to forward half has been something that has improved immensely under Ross Lyon. Winhager, Wangani Malira, those type of young players are really starting to stand tall. Mitch Owens as well. Really keen to watch this game. 2 teams are going to be diving in, having a red-hot crack, but I think St Kilda walk away with the 4 points. Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide taking on Melbourne. Potential to be one of the games of the round. I think it's going to be, game of the round is going to be between Brisbane, Collingwood, and Port Adelaide, Melbourne. Port Adelaide obviously coming off of a win against West Coast in round 1. Were slow to get their systems in check against Richmond in the first half last week, but got their systems in check in the second half, and they looked incredibly good. Melbourne had a very good win against Hawthorn, but again, similar circumstances. They played a team that we know, or at least expect to be a bottom 4-5 side in Hawthorn, so is it going to be a shock to their system, taking on a true finals premiership contender? Both teams on paper look incredibly strong. I think Port Adelaide, though, just edged them out, especially given they get that home ground advantage. It's a real fortress down there in Adelaide, and I think they're going to capitalise on that. Sunday kicks off at Marvel Stadium. A lot of games at Marvel over the weekend. Bulldogs taking on the West Coast Eagles. We know West Coast upset the Bulldogs late last year. However, I do not think that is going to be the case this year. Bulldogs looked incredibly impressive against the Gold Coast, and if they can carry even half of the momentum from that game into this one, they're still going to win quite convincingly. At the MCG Sunday afternoon, Richmond taking on Sydney, and as much as I would love to say Richmond have shown glimpses and they can cause an upset here. I can't back against Sydney. Sydney, in my opinion, are the best team in the competition so far. They're the standard bearers. They're the team to beat, and I don't think Richmond is going to be the team to do so. Another injury concern out of Tigerland this week with young James Trezise. He had an ankle injury during last week's game against Port Adelaide and played the game out, but it's been revealed he's got a moderate syndesmosis injury, which is going to see him out for over 6 weeks. And our defensive line has just been absolutely shot to shit. Logan McDonald, Joel Amadi, Tom Papley, they're all going to get off the chain. Chad Warner and Heaney are going to have absolutely huge games. I'm terrified to think how big of a win Sydney could walk away with on Sunday afternoon. And the final game of the round is at the MCG, Easter Monday football. We've come to expect this clash for a number of years now. Hawthorn taking on Geelong. Geelong are going to come down to Melbourne and walk away with a huge scalp. I don't see Hawthorn getting within 40 points of Geelong. It is quite simple. I kind of ruled Geelong out of playing finals this year, but they are playing a solid calibre that is going to see them potentially play finals. They're not within the best of the comp this year, by the way they've been playing, but they're definitely within that middle mix. And I think a lot of people have underrated the fact that while Geelong have lost some older players and some experienced players, they still have plenty enough of experience in that team, as well as a talented young crop of kids that are going to come through and get the job done for them. So just to recap, I'm going with Brisbane, Carlton, Fremantle, St Kilda, Port Adelaide, the Bulldogs, Sydney, and Geelong. All the favourites. Yeah, very, very fucking typical tipping there, Zirra. If there are any upsets to go down, I could probably see a world where Collingwood could upset Brisbane. I see a world where Melbourne could upset Port Adelaide. You can never rule out Richmond over Sydney, because Richmond are one of those teams where they lose the winnable games and they win the unwinnable games. Is there a world where Bulldogs go in overconfident and choke to the Eagles? I don't know. Adelaide could do an upset. Essendon. So there are some coin flips here, but I'm confident rolling with the favourites, quote unquote. Speaking of favourites, however, I mentioned it in my podcast this week gone that I've got a couple of close mates of mine that like getting on the punt, having a little bit of a tip on the football each week. And my mate Damo has swung through with a couple of multis for people at home that might be keen on getting on board, trying to make a little bit of coin while playing, along with the games over the weekend. So the first multi comes for the Brisbane Collingwood hit out tomorrow night. He has Lincoln McCarthy and Jamie Elliott to kick a goal at any time. Steel side bottom, Patrick Lipinski, Braden Maynard and Dane Zorko all to have over 15 disposals. Lockie Neal, Josh Dunkley and Nick Dacos to all have over 20 disposals, with Joe Danaher to kick 3 or more goals, as well as the final margin going the way of Brisbane between 1 to 39 points, and that's going to return you $23 if you don't mind. The second multi he has pieced together is for the Easter Friday, Good Friday clash between North Melbourne and Carlton. He has got Carlton winning head-to-head, Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay to both kick over 4 goals, Harry Sheasel to have over 25 disposals, as well as Luke Davies-Uniacke, Patrick Cripps to have over 20 disposals, Nick Newman, Zach Fisher to both have over 15 disposals, and both Nick Larkey and Matthew Owies to kick a goal at any time, which is coming in at a very tasty $19 return. Just remember, when it comes to me throwing these tips out, I'm not at all convincing anybody to gamble, and make sure if you do decide to gamble at all, whether it be listening to the tips that are thrown out here or in your own time, just make sure you gamble responsibly. I think that is an easy enough concept to grasp. It's always thrown in our face, and you've got to make sure, you don't dive in too deep and get yourself stuck in a little bit of trouble. So gamble responsibly. That is it for this video, however. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, do hit that like button down below. I would appreciate it as well if you hit that subscribe button. Get on board the community. We are slowly but surely building. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm really enjoying sitting down and recording AFL-based content for this channel. And I've got some big ideas moving forward. So if you want to be around for that, if you want to get on board, hit that subscribe button. It's free. Only takes a second to do so. Please. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend, provided they're playing, of course, because of these bullshit bye rounds that are going down. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.